So the mainstream media have been pushing this story big time regarding the stranded astronauts' return home. And of course, plenty of people have been highlighting the absurdity of this storyline and of course, space. Stranded NASA astronauts finally returned to Earth after spending 9 months stuck in space. Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams only expected to be on the International Space Station for a few days. Well, I'm going to show you a short official clip that totally destroys their storyline of stranded astronauts on the International Space Station and totally destroys NASA. Bear with me. Before we go to the damning clip in question, I just want to show you this. The interior of the ISS is filled with blue bars used by the astronauts to secure their feet and remain in one place. And as you can see, these blue bars, the astronauts wedge their feet under it to supposedly stabilize themselves in this weightless environment that they claim to be in. Okay? Just needed to show you that before we entertain the clip. And this is where we join the action. This clip's 8, possibly 9 months old. Butch had not long arrived on the International Space Station when this live aired. You're going to see at the start of the conversation for the first few seconds, Butch is not moving, not floating around, is stationary, which means he's got his feet wedged under those blue bars. A few seconds into the conversation, you're going to see Butch or his puppet master is going to adjust him. His feet come out from underneath the blue bars as he starts to float upwards. Now that in itself isn't a problem because that's selling the lie of a weightless environment. The problem is they go too far and Butch starts to bounce quite almost violently at the start, bounce up and down to quite a great height. The clip we're going to see is similar to Oleg from last week, but this is even worse. Because every time our so-called stranded astronaut here would be going upwards, there would be nothing to stop him going in that direction until he planted his head in the roof of the International Space Station. Otherwise, he'd keep going. Remember, he's in a weightless environment. And the same would apply when he's going back down. He'd hit the floor of the space station and that energy would dissipate. He certainly wouldn't be bouncing up and down like we're going to see on our screens now. Look.
Awesome. And obviously I do want to ask, the spacecraft that brought you up to the International Space Station was manufactured by Boeing. Do you have any suggestions for them for next time?
Ridiculous.
Sure, we got a lot of suggestions. And we'll share all of those, and they've made some great strides and wonderful positive impacts on the human space flight, and they'll continue to do so. And
anyone claiming this gold thing he's playing with here is proof of the environment being true, sorry. Demonstrable reality tells you the environment's not true. These fraudsters interact with things like augmented reality, which is what this carabiner is. Again, to fool naive minds into believing absurdities like we're seeing on our screen. If this was true, Butch, the moment he jumped up, he wouldn't stop till his head planted into the roof of the space station. But he's bouncing up and down like he's on some sort of contraption. It would be impossible to see what we're seeing if Butch was in a weightless environment. Remember, the first few seconds, totally stable. He gets lifted out from under the blue bars, rises up, and then starts bouncing to, quite dramatically.
Awesome. And obviously I do want to ask, the spacecraft that brought you up to the International Space Station was manufactured by Boeing. Do you have any suggestions for them for next time?
Boing.
sure, we got a lot of suggestions. And we'll share all of those, and they've made some great strides and wonderful positive impacts on the human space flight, and they'll.
Butch, I've got a suggestion. I don't think it was your idea to become a bouncing debunker of the International Space Station and the stranded astronaut story. I don't think it was your intention to do that. So whoever's pulling the strings gave me a giggle anyway. Debunk the International Space Station, debunk the globe because the space station is supposed to be in free fall around it, and of course debunk the story that's being pushed by the mainstream media of stranded astronauts in space. If you were in space, you wouldn't need to be faking the environment like we've just seen Butch. One last time, Butch bouncing his way.
Awesome. And obviously, I do want to ask the spacecraft that brought you up to the International Space Station was manufactured by Boeing. Do you have any suggestions for them for next time?
See them selling the story. Like I said, this is 8-9 months ago. This is selling the story for the stranded astronaut that we've had to entertain this last 7-8 days. The puppet master blew it for you, Butch.
Sure, we got a lot of suggestions. And we'll share all of those, and they've made some great strides and wonderful.
So that was an embarrassing end to the reputation of NASA's so-called stranded astronauts. These two on our screen here are clearly pantomime characters rather than space personnel. Ridiculous. Thankfully, more and more people are becoming aware of the space fraud and, of course, becoming more aware of the globe Earth lie. It's great to see a new generation of young guns coming through calling this nonsense out. Keep it up, guys. Have a good one, everyone.